Hey everybody, Nick and I wanted to do a video and talk about The House Across the Lake. Nick is also aka Fear Nerd. You say hi.
Hi.
We both had different experiences with this book, so we kind of want to talk about those. Uh, at first, we'll just give a little bit about the plot, but pretty much the rest of the video is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend saving this video for till after you've actually read the book, because it's pretty easy to ruin the twist in this book. I think a lot of people have unintentionally ruined it for other people.
Without meaning to.
Without meaning to. For sure without meaning to. But that's why we had different experiences with the book and wanted to talk about them. So now's your chance to swipe away from the video if you don't want it to be spoiled for you.
So we're going to get into spoiler territory immediately, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the plot first. Basically, if you've seen the movie Rear Window, it's kind of like that. In this case, we have our character, Casey Fletcher, who is a actress, and she's been forced to live at this cabin across the lake by her mother after some embarrassing moments in public, I guess you would say. And because of that, she doesn't have a lot to do except drink, which she's technically not supposed to be doing according to her mother. But she finds these binoculars that belong to her husband, who had passed away. I want to say it was previous summer or something like that.
Yeah.
Can't remember. But anyway, she has these binoculars and she starts to look across the lake at this younger couple that's...
she's younger.
Yeah.
He's not.
Okay. One of them is the man, I guess we should say, is Tom Royce. He's a...
tech guru.
Yeah, tech guru, kind of like Mark Zuckerberg or something like that.
He's older.
Yeah. And then you have his wife, who's a model, a supermodel, Catherine. Former supermodel. So anyway, actually, I think what happens
she
first...
turns into a philanthropist.
Something
for the
like
most
that.
part, yeah.
But they immediately meet because when Casey's looking through binoculars, at first she sees like this hand submerged underwater, and she goes out there in a boat and she pretty much fishes out Catherine from the lake, and she thinks she's dead, but then she just pops back to life, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then from there, she starts to question if somebody was trying to murder Catherine, like if she was being poisoned or whatever. She thinks that the husband is the one doing this. So these are all things that she theorizes about. Then all of a sudden one night she sees Catherine and her husband get into this big fight and she disappears. So and that's the basic plot of the book. So
and other characters.
Yeah,
you can mention.
There's other characters in the book that emerge. There's a neighbor to Casey, Boone, who is a former police officer, and he kind of has been keeping his eye on the going-ons across the lake as well, so he kind of gets wrapped up into this.
Feels sussy sometimes.
Yes. And then across the lake, next to Tom and Catherine, you have Eli, which I guess he's almost like a dad figure to
he's the only one that lives there
Casey.
permanently.
He lives there permanently. He's a novelist. I think he's retired too, though. So he kind of keeps an eye on things for all the houses, and he also supplies Casey with her booze because she can't go to the store and buy it herself.
Yeah. But they make a deal. She has to cook dinner when he supplies the booze.
No.
On those days.
So I think we've gone through the characters. So there's one character we didn't mention, which would be the character we never meet, who is off the page, Lynn, which is Casey's dead husband.
We also have the investigator.
Yes, and the investigator
that is
too.
Friends with Boone.
Yes. So there's a investigator too that gets brought into matters later. So you've got the plot, you've got the characters. I guess we go ahead and get into what actually happened. So this is where the spoilers kick into high gear, I guess we should say. So let's talk about the twist. I'll talk about my experience first with the book. So I happened to read somebody's review on Instagram, and I don't think they were meaning to spoil the book or anything, but they had mentioned there's a supernatural element to this book, and that's one of the twists, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to be like a ghost thing. And I wasn't expecting that. Just by based on the book, I thought this was going to be a crime book, to begin with. Just based on some other Riley Sager books I've read, they didn't really have a supernatural aspect. At least I've read Final Girls and The Last Time I Lied and Lock Every Door. I expected Lock Every Door to have that kind of element, but it never did go there. But that's what I was kind of thinking. Okay, we're just going to get another crime book with the House Across the Lake, Cabin Across the Lake. What is it called? House Across the Lake.
Sorry, Riley.
Yeah, so that's what I expected from this book, but then I saw that supernatural thing, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that should be cool, but at the same time, I wish I hadn't read that, because then it would have probably shocked me more when we get to that part in the book. Mm-hmm. And I think it took a little bit of that impact away from me, so...
Yeah, because pretty early on, you hear about the ghost story about the lake, and the myths and stuff.
But it's kind of like almost like background noise, right?
Right.
For you, because she didn't know about the supernatural aspect at all. And I know Amazon's kind of spoiling it too, right?
Yes. So. Amazon has it under the supernatural category, and I feel like they should not be doing that to this book. But when I read it, it's like Eli is telling a camp story, and you don't even think about it, really. You're just like, oh, campfire tale. That's cool, because, there's, it talks about people who die in the lake and stuff like that. I won't go far into it. If you've read the book, you already know. So from my perspective, not having seen any spoilers or anything, you didn't think about it at all. You're pretty much reading more than half the book, thinking that it's just a crime story. But also, I didn't want it to just be a crime story, because when you read a Riley Sager book, you know better than to expect what you think it's going to be, because it's not. Which, I've read Home Before Dark, and
don't say too much, I haven't read it.
That book is different than some of the others. I've read Final Girls and Home Before Dark and this. So Home Before Dark is a little bit different too, just because it's a Riley Sager twist. So.
All right, so let's get into the twist. I'd say there's probably 3 main twists in this book. So the first one is the supernatural thing. You find out that Catherine is possessed by Casey's dead husband Lynn, who died in the lake.
And he was just waiting to pick a body, not a soul. He was waiting to put his soul into a body.
Then I guess you would say the next twist is you find out that he was a serial killer, and Casey killed him.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Yeah, we should mention there's a whole subplot about a possible serial killer, where Tom Royce is suspected as a serial killer. So you get that in the background
and she thinks Boone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be her husband.
But this is where the book's kind of weird, because Casey's like, she already knows who the serial killer is, but then it's like, she's almost reacting like some of these people are serial killers too.
Right. Like she knew, but yeah, that is kind of weird. I guess I didn't think about that when I was reading it. Yeah. She knew, so why did she,
This is where I know Riley Sager's, at least I've read enough of his books where he's got like the before and after almost, so you kind of, you get that limitation, I think, on your characters when you do that, and almost makes them to where they have to be somewhat aloof, at least to the reader, because you don't know everything that they know. So
it doesn't, now that I think about it, truly work as well in this book, because she knows who killed the girls anyway that are missing.
And she knew she sent the letter too.
Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't really work.
So
this is the first time I'm actually saying what I thought about it, but I didn't even think about that.
Right.
It doesn't really work as well when you think about it that way, and like it does in some of his other books. In some of his other books, it actually works well.
Yeah. I'd say with Final Girls, it probably works really good.
Yeah.
Last Time I Lied, it worked really well too.
Home Before Dark, well, it's a little different because it's 2 different perspectives, but it still works really well, what he's trying to do.
I'd say Lock Every Door, it works really good too, because she's not trying to fool anybody, or it's just basically these events happened before this event, so it's just you're kind of seeing in real time what's going on.
Yeah.
And you have the stuff in the past, but
That's kind of how it is with Home Before Dark.
yeah. But this one, to me, it's like, I don't know. You're in the mind of Casey, and she's trying to like tell you things, but not give you the full story. And it's like she's hiding stuff from you, but even though she knows outcomes to things. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but that part kind of doesn't work a little bit, I guess you would say, when you think about it. If you sit down and really think about the book. And then there's one more twist we should talk about too. So then the last twist is,
Which I really didn't
is that
think was going to happen. But
Tom Royce is actually trying to kill his wife.
yeah, for the money, all the money she has, because his tech company is.
And if you think about it, he kind of succeeded at the beginning of the book. She did drown, and then she got possessed. And
he actually, and he probably thought he had succeeded there. But if after you read that, and then you think about other things you've read, it totally adds up. But at the end, with the second plot twist, you're like, okay, well, this is gonna close everything up. But then it doesn't. So that was a little small, enjoyable plot twist, I think. But then it just kind of feeds into your suspicion of what you actually think is going on, which Riley usually doesn't ever do.
Right.
He never actually gives you what you want. So Tom actually trying to poison his wife is like he's giving you something there.
Right.
So
overall, if I didn't know about the supernatural twist, I probably would have liked this book a lot more. But because I knew about it, some of the other twists, still caught me off guard, like the Tom Royce thing. That was good. And then not knowing that Casey was actually the one that killed her husband and he was a serial killer. That was interesting too. So I gave this about, a 3.5 out of 5. But I think I would have really liked this book a lot more had I not known about that supernatural element, even though I could have easily read the synopsis on Amazon, had it spoiled there too. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not blaming anybody. I didn't know that's how they were marketing this book.
I didn't either. Not even the whole time, like that Riley was even marketing himself.
And I guess we should say too that Riley Sager is an automatic buy for us anyway, so we're going to read the book, regardless.
Yeah.
So we have all his books. But what about your takeaway, Beck?
For me, it took me, since he already knew that I was going to make it to a spoiler, not a spoiler, to a twist. He kept telling me to keep going because this book drones on for a while, and I got tired of Casey drinking bourbon on every single page. Like, we get it, you're an alcoholic, you need help. It was every page, pretty much, nearly, that alcohol was mentioned. And I'm like, asking him, is it going to be worth it? Should I keep going? Like, I don't want a DNF or Riley Sager book if I can help it. But more than, I would say, at least half the book, maybe a little bit more, was tough for me to want to keep going through. When I finally hit one of those plot twists, though, you just fly through it after that. So for me, it's going to be, I'm going to give it 4 stars just because of the last little bit less than half of the book. Because I didn't know about the paranormal part of the book. So it was a lot more enjoyable for me than it was him. So that's where I stand on it. It's not my favorite Riley Sager book at all. Final Girls and Home Before Dark are the only others that I've read, but they're also some of his best books, so I'm still going to put those above this one for sure.
Would you say that the characters in House Across the Lake are memorable?
No. Not really. Not for me. I didn't think about, when I was done with this book, I didn't really think about it after that. I didn't think about any of the characters or anything.
Casey seems like an adult in Arrested Development.
Yes.
At times. It's like, why is she like listening to her mom? She has to stay confined at this stupid house.
Right. Like her mom's seems a little nuts anyway, too. To me, anyway. Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention her best friend. Or her,
it's her cousin.
Publicist or cousin or what? Marnie. Yeah. she's brought up a few times, not memorable. Casey is just an annoying alcoholic that has nothing better to do.
But then she
Basically.
just miraculously, gets over it all at the very end of the book. Now she's living sober
Right.
with
Boone.
Boone in this
Boone was
house.
I liked Eli's character just because
Yeah.
he's, he knows a lot of history about the area, even though Casey's family is the one that had that house built
First.
centuries before that, right?
Yeah.
I liked Eli. Was he memorable? No. I felt sorry for Boone because she suspecting him and then was watching him through the binoculars, which I guess he didn't care about.
He was skinny dipping.
Yeah, but no. Nobody I cared about, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really feel like there were memorable characters in the book, but for what it was, a quick read. It was good.
Yeah.
Pass the time. Nice summer read.
I think everybody should read it. Especially if you know somebody that doesn't know anything about the paranormal element, you should recommend it to them. Because
They'll probably get more out of it.
I think also if you haven't read any of Riley Sager's other books yet, I think it's a good one to start with.
That's her dog season.
I think it's a good one to start with because it's kind of like, I feel like this with a lot of other thrillers too. Because I've read Riley Sager's book, other thrillers don't live up to the thriller that you want them to be.
You're always lacking something.
Yeah. So I think this is a good one to start with before you go into some of his other good ones. Because see, now that I know I've read some of the good ones, I'm going to be really slow on reading the other ones that I haven't read yet.
Yeah, I've heard this book, Survive the Night, is awful from several people.
Which sucks, because it's 90s.
I'm going to read
nostalgia.
it, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to read it and Lock Every Door and The Last Time I Lied eventually, but they're not at the top of my list to read.
So hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised, and this is actually better than what I hear.
I don't know.
But everybody's different. Everybody's, got their own opinions as far as books go. I like the book. I would recommend the book.
Yeah, I would. I'm not going to trash it. Like some people, they haven't trashed it, but I think maybe it got ruined for them too, and they didn't want to say that, possibly. Or they saw something and then it was just so predictable for them they couldn't enjoy it.
It won't be in my top 10 reads of the year.
No, mine either. Mine either. But let us know if you read the book and what you thought about it. No spoilers or anything, though, in the comments. Please do not talk about the paranormal element of it. We're just interested to see if you enjoyed it or didn't.
And if you like these videos, let us know and maybe we'll do more of them too.
Yes, we might do more. We mostly read a lot of the same books. So there's probably a lot we could
even talk about movies too if you guys are interested in that. So.
Horror movies.
Yeah.
For the most
or
part.
rom-coms.
Not rom-coms.
Just kidding.
I may read a rom-com now, but I will never watch one again.
Maybe I'll read one of those spicy books you read and we'll talk about it together.
That would be interesting. Yep, that would be interesting.
All right.
But, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks. See you guys.